welcome to the Power of Connection. I am so excited today to have with us Gina Farese. Gina Farese wears many hats. She is a woman in construction. She is a powerhouse. And I want to welcome you, Gina. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today.
Thank you for having me.
So it should be noted that I have known Gina for a very long time. And one of the reasons that she was such an obvious choice to share a little bit about her experience is that I met her maybe 10 years ago. It's a long time ago. I worked with a solar company, and Gina owns a roofing company and a construction company and many other things. But at that time, she was young. She's still young, but she was very young. And she came into my office with this cute little mini skirt on, and she was going to tell me about roofing. And I just immediately thought, like, what does this young woman know about roofing and like volume roofing and quality roofing? Like, what could she possibly know? And when I tell you that she schooled me so hard that I was like, okay, all right, you're the person. And with the hundreds of roofs that I did with her while I was part of that organization, I can't say that we never had a problem, because it wasn't, it couldn't be anybody's fault. Sometimes problems happen, but that's when you know you have somebody great, when as soon as something happens, they resolve it, they fix it, they make it better. And that was always my relationship with Gina. And I've watched her evolve and evolve and evolve as a businesswoman. So Gina, I'm so proud of you. Tell us, I know it's hard for you to tell about what you do because you do so many things, but give it a shot.
All right. Well, let's start off. I didn't come out in a mini skirt, but
You did. It was a cute little thing.
So I started about 15, 16 years ago. I was running from the bottom up. My father had a roofing company. I started from the very bottom, roofing roofs, cleaning up garbage, getting yelled at my mother every morning because there was a ring around the bathtub at the end of the night because of the amount of flashing cement that was left on me, you name it. So yeah, I really got to learn this from the bottom up, which means I got to do a lot of it myself and be able to think like water and figure out, why things happen and why you do certain things. So we started with the roofing and siding, taught that all to myself. My father was old-fashioned Italian, so it was not something he was ever going to hand me. When I tell you blood, sweat, and tears came into this, I probably cried to my mom on a daily basis. I think there were some times I might have cried to you too. But it really, it's evolved to something so incredible. And the crazy part is that I haven't even scratched the surface. My goals and my dreams aren't even met yet. They're just getting checked off one box at a time, and the list continues to grow. So I got involved back in 2011 in insurance work. There was a hailstorm that hit back out in New Hyde Park. So I hooked up with an attorney that we were working on some claims together, and he gave me the idea to go get my public adjuster's license. So I did that. I started handling insurance claims. And
what does a public adjuster do?
So a public adjuster represents the homeowner. So when somebody has an insurance claim, let's say a tree falls on a house, what ends up happening is that somebody needs to be able to help the homeowner navigate. The insurance company is going to send out their adjuster, but their adjuster works for the insurance company. Public adjuster works for the actual homeowner. So making sure that you're being paid properly, that you're properly indemnified in your policy, that your claim is going to be covered and paid out properly. Insurance companies are known to underpay, so we make sure that the payouts are what they should be done, what they should be, and we fight for the maximum amount of money that the policy owes.
How does that connect with your roofing business?
So trees on houses, missing shingles, we've got, wind damage, things like that. It's actually a huge component here. And the crazy thing is, I guess it's just that it's so hard to work in New York because we have just different insurance requirements and labor law and things like that, that prevent some insurance, for some companies that know how to do this insurance from coming here. But there's so many houses that are built against code, that have too many layers of roofing, that aren't repairable, that are just too old. So a lot of the times we're able to get that handled. And then the other interesting thing was I got into the solar industry not long before I met you. And I decided that, all right, well, solar's going on these roofs. The solar companies wanted my leads, and they didn't realize that they needed somebody to be able to put the roofs on when they had a house that didn't have a roof that was replaced. They needed somebody to work alongside. So that was when I started getting into the solar end of things, teaching, building roof divisions for solar companies where, we were giving them roof quotes. That's how you and I met. And, we were realizing that solar companies were having this need for roofing. And it was like a free for all because so many people wanted to get involved in it. And as they were trying to get involved, the problem was that they just weren't getting the right systems. They weren't getting solar companies were looking at numbers. They didn't care. And then all of a sudden they're putting the solar on top of it. And now they're liable for all of these roofs that are going out there, but they don't even know anything about roofing. And then it morphed into the solar and the roofing. Well, the insurance applied to both, because then we were getting calls from people that were like, hey, I had raccoons that got into my system and they ate holes through the roof, and I've got $100,000 in damage on my house, or my solar company installed the system wrong, or they didn't catch that something was done wrong. And now these insurance claims are opening up left and right because there's issues with the solar now. So now you have to be able to navigate that. And there's very few people who know how to do that. And majority of the public adjusters out there don't want to touch a 10, 20, 30, even $50,000 claim. When they're just a public adjuster, they want, they want the $1 million claims, a $500,000 claim. They want meat on the bone that's going to be worth their while. So you've got these unfortunate homeowners that are flailing out here that have no way to, nobody to help them navigate this stuff. And they're ending up having to pay these things out on their own when sometimes
those problems that they never thought they would have.
No,
it's totally unexpected. And, one of the things that you don't get, like if you're a new homeowner or an existing homeowner that's never had this problem, you can have a problem with your screen door can squeak and your washing machine can have a problem and you have a hole that has to be fixed. When you have a problem with the roof, your whole house is in jeopardy because that roof protects everything that you own in that house.
100%.
So it's so important to stress that doing anything with the roof is a priority to get a pro like you. So unless you've had a situation like that, you don't realize what a big deal it is.
Correct. And people are so quick to just get the cheapest price and not understand that like there's stuff that goes into the roofing system, like things that are required by code, like the cap fasteners. Those are the little plastic caps that go through the underlayments. Nobody uses them. Actually, it was interesting. I was actually just on an install out. We're doing the roof over in Gurney's for a company that we work for. And when I got up on the roof, it's interesting that the rep from the manufacturer's rep locally tells everybody that you don't need to as long as they're covered the same day. And that's how, when you see all on like social media, all these companies that are putting up these products, they're not using this fastener.
So they're saying it's okay to cheat.
Basically. So then, and
kind of scary.
It's cost, it's a cost savings if you don't have to buy, the gun runs us $300, $400, $500 a gun. You need a couple guns a job. Then you got a box of the fasteners. Those can run you $80, $85 a box. You're cutting some costs by not using these things. And a homeowner doesn't know, they're none the wiser. But guess what? Right on the underlayment, I climbed up on the roof the other day to do an inspection. Unfortunately, we use them. But we're one of the only companies on Long Island that does use them, which is a scary thing. And it says it straight on the underlayment. It's printed on the underlayment now that says, do not use any fasteners without plastic caps. Yeah, guys are just using staples.
Wow.
And I'm like, it says it there. And like, it's literally, if you zoom into some of these guys on social media, you see the pictures that they're posting. You can actually zoom in and see what it says.
Oh my goodness.
It's crazy. So, you got,
as a homeowner, it's scary because you don't know what you don't know.
You don't.
So it's nice that you're such a resource. But Gina, let me ask you a question. Besides the roofing and the public adjusting, you do a whole lot more. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do?
So because of these types of things, I decided to open up a solar division about almost 3 years ago. And while I run roof divisions for solar companies, so I never wanted to go and sell against them. That's silly. That's not the goal I was going for. There are a lot of companies that sell solar, but there's not a lot of companies that can install it good. My team is aces. My teams they're trained both on roofing and roofing and solar. But we went after the service work. We went after types of accounts where homeowners are having these issues and there's nobody to troubleshoot them because the roofers don't want to touch solar and the solar guys don't know how to touch roofing. Even if they want to open up a roofing company and say, hey, we're going to put this guy in charge of it, they still, it's much easier for a roofer to get into solar than it is for a solar company to get into roofing. You know, and sometimes they just think, hey, well, I'll just bring in a good sub. And, you know, if you don't know about roofing, you don't know what a good sub is. So it's, you know, you're talking about the most important part of your house.
Yes.
And so what we started realizing is that, well, now you've got these solar companies out there that aren't looking at the roof. They don't understand what they're putting on the roof. And then now you have, you know, do they know, was the roof installed the right way before they put the solar on? And now they're penetrating the roof. I mean, we just had one last week. We had to pull a whole system off of the house. Had to replace the roof. It was a $30,000 ticket to the homeowner. And unfortunately, I uncovered all of the issues with the roofing, but the solar company missed it. And then the solar company put the brackets in the ways of where their issues were with solar, try to claim that it's not the actual equipment that they put on, but they still put holes through the roof. So they're liable for it. Therefore, who's going to really be liable is the solar company. So now I've got, you know, attorneys bringing us on to handle this type of stuff of helping them troubleshoot, you know, liability.
That's amazing that you've taken on this role. Like you really believe in this so strongly.
Oh, I'm so
that
passionate
you're
about
putting
it.
your money where your mouth is and you're going out and you're helping these homeowners. The thing that I always thought was funny, not funny, haha, but you know, but with the roofing being so specific and you having to have such particular knowledge and experience to do it the right way. And, you know, when I was in solar, the question was, well, when you put this stuff on my roof, what happens to the warranty? And it was always kind of a gray area, but maybe we were doing it backwards. Maybe the roofing company should be the one that installs the solar to make sure that nothing happens.
I think
Clearly you're doing this.
we are. So we actually partnered up with a lot of companies. As you well know, a lot of people aren't aware that, you know, a lot of solar companies are paper sales companies. They sell the paper. They understand how to do proper offsets. They know how to design the systems. And I think that there's a need for those types of people out there because there's some people out there like me that doesn't want to handle that side. I don't want to be competing for solar. I don't want to be dealing with sales, but we're a really good installations team. We have the processing side. We have the ability to get to the engineers. We have the troubleshooting capabilities. So at that point, the hardest part is actually getting the glass on the roof and knowing it's done the right way. So we've focused on that. We've focused on the service side where, like I said, we've got the systems that need, you know, troubleshooting. Maybe there's a, you know, a commissioning error, or maybe there's a problem with the inverter, or maybe there's a leak. And I've spent my time, you know, going out handling the leak assessments most because I've always been so interested in the why behind solar leaking. Like if it's done right, you know, people say skylights leak. Skylights don't leak. The installation is what leaks. Solar doesn't leak, the installation leaks. So
you know what I'm hearing, and one of the things that I just love about you is that you go about your daily life doing your thing, you uncover a problem, but you don't just leave the problem there. You fix the problem and then you create a solution, but a solution for the masses. Correct. So this is a problem in a relatively new industry related to roofing, right? Because solar's on the roof, and you know how I love the whole solar real estate thing, but you're finding better ways, more efficient ways, more just the ways to help the consumer go about going solar in the right way so that there isn't a downfall ever. And that has been a business generator for you, right? So you uncover these problems, you find a solution, and then you build out a business on that. Kind of walk us through how you do that.
So a lot of those have been like business to consumer type of things. But now we're actually developing more business to business types of things. So, you know, these issues that we're seeing are simply just lack of education, lack of understanding, lack of knowledge. So knowledge is power. We all know that. So what we did is about 2 years ago, I teamed up with a solar company locally on Long Island, and I built them out a roof division. And I went to the CEO of the company. I said, here's what I want to do. I want to basically be like your in-house roofing manager, but independent. And let me run you a roofing division and let me show you how you can make money off the roofing. Let me run it for you. You won't do a thing. It's not going to change anything you're doing. All you're going to do is see profits. And we piloted that.
So let me interrupt you for a second, because
Yeah.
I think you touched on something important. Traditionally, have these companies actually made money or lost money when they incorporated the roofing?
So a lot of them didn't realize they were losing money. And it's funny because I sat with a solar company a couple of weeks ago and they didn't believe me. And I gave them homework and I said, it's okay. You don't have to believe me. I want you to call your insurance broker and ask them, by you running $1 million of roofing that you subcontracted out, what did that cost you in insurance premiums with your policy? And I said, I'm going to tell you, it probably didn't run you about 5% of the sale. So you're talking about 5% of $1 million, not a little number. They called me back two days later laughing and they go, we didn't want to tell you that you were right, but you were right. You were actually wrong. I said, I was. What was it? We're actually paying 5.8%.
Oh my goodness.
So they didn't realize that. So I said, by recreating how you're doing it, if you're not just subcontracting the roof and the roof labor and materials, and you break it out separately, they still don't know how to order the roof. They don't know how to manage it. They don't know what are they estimating. They don't know what are they looking for.
So you're bringing also, so it's important to note that you have a degree in finance, do you not? Like you have a finance background. So you have finance, you have insurance, you have construction, you have the roofing. Now you add the solar in, you're doing all of these solar repairs for maybe companies that misinstalled something or not, right? And this is keeping you so busy. But you're leaving something out that I love, and that's you have started a MWBE, or a minority or women-owned business.
I'll get to that. I don't want to.
Yeah, like, oh, by the way,
I would say I don't want to confuse you on that end.
you're such a powerhouse, and you just keep evolving. Like as soon as you find a problem, you're like, oh, we're gonna do this. Oh, we're gonna do that, because you have. It's almost like you have the recipe. So I want to hear about that. But I have to ask you a question.
Sure.
Do you ever get scared?
Scared of what?
Do you ever get scared? So a lot of times when people start a business or they have a something or whatever it is that they do and they're about to grow, before they start that growth, there's a risk. Have you done it so many times that you're not scared anymore? Or do you get a little scared every time you do it?
It's just time and money.
Yeah, so you're just over that, but you must have gotten scared before you took the leap in the past.
Oh yeah. I mean, you know what? I get the things I get scared of, the things I don't know. You know, the unknowns are what's scary. It's not so much taking the leap of faith in the business. I take a leap of faith in myself. I take a leap of faith in my team. It's what I get scared of is like the little nuances of running a business that you know, not everybody knows. Like, at some point or another, I learned about insurance because I was in a situation where I had to learn about insurance. Usually I call that my tuition. I didn't go to college for that type of stuff, so I didn't pay tuition for that, but I paid somewhere along the way and learned, and that's my tuition in my mentality of thinking. But a lot of what I do, it's sweat equity, and doesn't feel like work. I mean, I think my husband's a little jealous that when I get out of bed every morning, I'm running to the office with a smile on my face, and he doesn't love what he does. And you know, it shows when you love what you do, these opportunities just keep falling into your lap. And the newest endeavor, I'll get to the WB thing, but the newest endeavor is Roofs for Solar, which is a national platform. I teamed up with my partner in Colorado, and he's got a background. He's a CFO. He's got a very substantial background in accounting as well. And you know, we feed off of each other's energy. He's great. He understands the platform of the business. He's got a background in solar as well. And we actually met when you were working at the solar company. He was there about the same time and maybe a little after you. And you know, we kept in touch. And actually, no, we all circled back through a couple of different people, and I presented this idea to him, and Roofs for Solar was born, where we actually build roof divisions for solar companies, because what we do is we educate the solar companies where they're potentially losing money or not making money, or could be making more money. Because if they're going to sell the roof, they're taking the liability of the roof. Why wouldn't they profit off of the roof? But we go with a very aggressive pay scale because we don't actually take a big piece. And that's what our biggest feedback from our contractors, our solar contractors, has been, wait, you're going to do all that for this little bit of money? And it makes sense for us because we do it in volume. But if the point is for the solar companies to make money and make money off of the roofing and understand, you know, we want to be able to come in, be their acting roofing manager and build them a roof division, custom tailored to their business, and run it from them from start to finish. Our entire back office does everything from estimating to ordering all the materials. We vet the subcontractors, we find the subcontractors, we have great relationships nationwide with different roofing contractors.
Amazing.
Know what to look for the insurance.
And you're making sure that they're not making any of the mistakes that your service division is fixing, like stuff that you run across. You're making sure that they never run into those problems, therefore having costly setbacks in the future.
Exactly. So we review their site evaluations. They come to us in a sense as a consultant to say, hey, we're kind of on the fence here. What do you think we should do with this roof? And then the really cool thing is that I take a lot of the content from what we see out there on the solar side. You know, my guys will see certain things and dump all the photos into a file, and I turn that content into education. And that's where we just had, we haven't really announced, but we had just opened up Roofs for Solar Academy. And that's going to be where we're going to be doing a lot of roofing education for the solar industry, which is completely non-existent. So you've got you've got organizations like NABCEP, you've got SunPower University, you've got Tesla University, you got all these different big organizations that are offering these educational components to what they offer. I mean, M-Phase has got some great educational content, but all of them are geared towards batteries and electric and solar and more solar and maybe more solar, but nobody's touching about the roofing topic. And then the roofing manufacturers, they just want to go and say, all right, well, we're going to teach the roofers how to get into solar. I'm like, that makes no sense. Why don't you teach the solar guys about roofing? Because that's where the issues are.
You're such an innovator. And, you know, I've watched you and I'm so proud of you. And so not only are you just building one thing after the other as you see the need for it, which is amazing, right? Because they say that if you're going to start a business or build a business, it has to solve a problem. And clearly you're doing that. But I want to get into the Gina side of it. And the Gina side of it is, you know, here you are, you jump into a family business, which is not an easy thing, right? So you go through that whole family business dynamic. You are a wife, so your husband is incredibly supportive, right? How important is that to you?
Huge. I, you know, when we met, we're together going on 14 years. He worked long hours and it was great because it gave me an opportunity to build the business and go out to networking things. And this is just the life we know. So my kids are 4 and almost 6 and they understand it too. Which is great. They're, you know, and at young ages, even they're supportive of it. They're just so used to being adjusted. I mean, they were in my office at 4 days old. I mean, I would literally bring the babysitter and both of the girls in the car, and I'd be driving I was driving a big Suburban at the time, and I'd run an appointment and my babysitter would text me when the baby would start crying, and I'd excuse myself, go feed the baby and go back to my appointment or go back to my job site, whatever I had to do. But you do whatever it takes. So
when people say, you know, that they don't have time, they've clearly never met Gina, because you're doing, you know, you're just doing all of this stuff and nothing is stopping you. And you have the supportive husband and, you know, your kids, you're such a great role model to them. Talk about a little bit about your dad, because he was really the foundation of this, and shout out to Gary. We all love him. Excuse
me for laughing, but the evolution of Gina and Gary has been quite an interesting thing. So my dad today is my best friend. He's hands down. We both couldn't do what we do together without each other. Lots of bumps in the road, lots of arguments, lots of tears, lots of hangups. I mean, you literal hang up phone calls, whatever it was, you know, but you need those kind of things to get to where you are, to get to where we are today. And you got two strong-minded Italians that, I give him a lot of credit. He stepped back, he focuses on what he knows he's good at, and that's running the field. And I run the business because he knows that that's what I'm good at. And I build these businesses.
How hard was it to prove to him that you were worthy, right? Because you're his kid. It's not a natural thing for a parent to say like, oh, here's my kid and I've been doing this for my whole lifetime. And now, she's qualified to do this. Like, I'm gonna give up some control over my business baby. Like,
it was the hardest thing. It was probably, he'll tell you, it was probably the hardest thing he ever did, because he had to give up complete control. He had to give all his trust to me. He had to give, he relinquished every bit of control of money, of the businesses, of control of how things operate. But now he looks at me and laughs and said, why did we not do this 10 years ago? But it works for both of us, and I'm smiling because I'm proud of it. And I give him a lot of credit because it was a big move for him. And unfortunately, I had to uncover some ugly things that were happening that, got him to gain my trust. And but it truly was the best thing for us. But looking from a parent's perspective, I look at my daughters and I'm like, one of them are going to tell me I'm doing something wrong in life. One of them are going to tell me that, like,
it's not easy.
There's a better way to do something. Like, and then to boot, I'm his daughter in a male dominated industry. And I'm trying to tell these guys, you're doing this wrong. You're doing this wrong. Like, I've literally gone head to head with guys that I'm installing on, that I install for, that, like, they could be third generation in the industry, and I'll go straight to the specs of, like, I remember clearly arguing with a guy years ago, and he was like, hey, I need your numbers to come down. And I said, well, it's physically impossible. If you want the full system, everything name brand, here's what the number is. He's like, well, so-and-so is my other sub and he's doing it. So I said, okay, well, one thing not to do is to challenge me, because I'm going to find a reason why. So I waited and I went, and I was the first one on the job site that morning, and I made sure I was there when the building supply was there. And what the building supply does, they come out with a flatbed, and when all their deliveries have the company's name and the town it's going to. So there were two jobs going out for that one company that day. I knew one was mine and I knew one of the other ones. I took a picture of it and I sent it to him, and to the owner of the company. I said, well, here's your answer why he's coming in competitive. Anything that's on your contract's not what's going on the job. He was swapping everything to, like, generic accessories, which were saving money. So that meant that guy who sold the job, who was trying to negotiate numbers with me, was actually in breach of contract, and he had no idea.
Wow.
So this is the shady stuff that goes on in roofing that people don't realize. So, like, for us, I've implemented photographing every system and step by step. So everything, when you match the contract, once that roof's covered, if a homeowner's at work all day and they come home and their roof's done, they don't know what's up there. And that's
what a benefit to the consumer. Like, you are really like the consumer superhero, that you're advocating day after day, year after year, and developing more and more processes. So your dad's been in this industry for all of these years, and you've been in the industry for all of these years. How important are your relationships?
Very. Our relationships with our guys are huge. Relationships with our suppliers are huge. We all rely on one another to be able to get, the end goal is to get the job completed without a callback, with getting a final payment at the end of the day, and the homeowner just being happy and getting a positive review. So, my team has been great. They've, been very supportive of everything, but, relationships are everything. And, think about a relationship like yours and mine. We met, and if I don't step up to the plate for something, like when I was doing roofing and you were at the solar company, if I didn't deliver on the things I promised, and that's really what our new thing is I make promises and Gary delivers. If those deliveries don't happen, my word is nothing. And one thing that my father taught me was that your word is supposed to be everything. So if you can't hold up to your word and live up to your word, you got nothing. So it's important that, the reputation is everything. I mean, I think, anytime I got any type of call, I was right out there. I was on the phone with the customer right away. We're human, things happen, mistakes happen. And I tell people all the time, it's not about that the mistake happened, it's how they fixed it. How was it handled? It doesn't make that, mean that the company's a bad company.
So all of the people that are out there, so you talked about building supply, you talk about how you work for different organizations, right? They call you, they wouldn't consider calling anybody else. Those relationships you've established over years, and probably even, some of them are your dad's long-term relationships that you've gotten involved in. All of this that you're talking about, going the extra mile, delivering what you promised, making sure that you're using exactly what you say you're using, making sure that the homeowner is represented. All of these things are kind of key components. I've been studying what makes people successful, right, for all of these years. And so those are the pieces that I'm getting out of it, but there's something that you're leaving out. And one of the things that I know is that you do a lot of work in the community and you do charitable stuff and you're not putting it out everywhere. But most successful people and successful organizations have another purpose other than delivering the best product and service to the consumer. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the cool stuff you've done to make the lives better for those in the community?
Yeah, so a couple months ago, I actually am on the board of directors at Long Island Builders Institute, which is our local lobbying organization, but they're more than just a lobbying organization. There's a networking component to it. I'm very involved. A lot of the builders, that's where there's over 650 members. A lot of the big builders go there for, being able to get projects approved. They also go there to source their suppliers, their associate related contacts, subcontractors like myself. And so I actually chair the Young Professionals Committee there. I chair the Remodelers Committee there, where we're working on, it's more of like a action committee. We're trying to get some legislative things changed, tiered licensing, trying to get things changed as far as, exposing the labor laws in New York, because it's such
I hear you talking. I just can't imagine that you and I have the same 24 hours in the day. Like you're chairing this, you're chairing that, you're running this, you're running that, you got 2 kids, you got this, you got that.
I still see my kids. I still see
You
my
do,
husband.
and I know you, and I know that that's a priority of yours.
Actually, my daughter was just, she came to work, she was 6, so she was hanging out on the love sack before, so.
Aw,
And, before my village came in and my mom came and picked her up, because the reality is that there's only 24 hours in a day. You said it. It takes a village. I can't do it alone.
so you have all of this going on, you make it happen, yet you still have the time, and it's still important to you to do this charitable thing. So I interrupted you. You were saying how.
So I do. So what happens is that it's crazy, because New York has this scaffold law here. That is part of why I'm like, again, the why behind why I want to do things. So I'm chairing the Remodelers Committee because the scaffold law is a big deal. And we want to get the scaffold law, we can't get it overturned. So now I'm like, fine, if you're not going to get overturned, then enforce it. Like, make everyone level the field and make everyone carry it. But there's Long Island Builders Institute has a charitable arm called Long Island Home Cares. And people will go to Long Island Home Cares to be able to get, source donated type of work and type of projects. And so the director over at Long Island Builders Institute, they can't get these projects off the ground because of they would need this insanely expensive insurance policy to do so because of the laws here. So a couple months ago, the director there called me and she's like, listen, we've got this VFW. It's a bunch of veterans looking, they're looking to put a roof on the VFW in Medford. So I said, give me a couple minutes, I'll make some calls. I got a commitment out of the building supply. I got for some underlayments. I got a commitment out of the dump company to donate the dumpsters. We were able to get the shingles donated from Owens Corning, and we decided to donate the labor. So we were able to give them, it was not a small project. It was probably well over $25,000 ticket. We were able to get that donated to them at no cost. We worked with Legislator Thorne's office on that, which we were really excited for. And then there was another one that went to Long Island Home Cares that we couldn't do anything, they couldn't do anything about. And it happened to be a family member of mine, their best friend's son, jumped in the water 2 years ago at the Polar Bear Plunge in Long Beach, hit a sandbar and was paralyzed. And, I brought it to Long Island Home Cares. We couldn't do anything about it, but because of the contacts that we had, we were able to call and ask some favors, bring in some contractors, and they were able to make the house that they were moving into accommodating so he could be able to live and still live home, have a handicap rail, have a handicap ramps, have the bathroom accommodating to him, have all the doorways that were widened to accommodate him. So, these are all things that we want to be, we like to be a part of. My 6-year-old on her birthday, we're taking her out to Long Island Home Cares is doing a Easter. I had the girls make Easter baskets the other night, and we had it's a big food drive and a clothing drive. So the girls and I are going to pack up the car, and we're going to go out to Babylon and drop off a bunch of stuff and go have the girls hand out with the Easter bunny some Easter baskets to the kids in the neighborhood. So, it's important for me to show my girls that life is more than just working, and you have to pay it forward. Because this is what business is, it's not just about,
it's just amazing. What you're doing is just amazing. And, even though we're as close can be, every single time I hear you talk about all of this, one thing after the other thing after the other thing, I'm so impressed and so proud. And I oftentimes listen to people say that, oh, they can't this, they can't do that. And I always think of you. So if you were to give advice to someone who was starting a business, an entrepreneur, somebody who, wanted to achieve more in their life, what advice would you give on how to achieve a certain level of success? Because success is different to everybody. Whatever your answer to success is, what advice would you give?
So I've got 2 of my favorite lines. One is stay hungry and don't get greedy. That's the biggest issue that I see, especially at my generation. Everyone thinks it happens overnight. I've been doing this for 15 years, and I can honestly say I've taken everything and reinvested it completely into my businesses, and I continue to do so, and I continue to plan to do so. It's, some people want to just be on the golf course 3 days a week, and that's their choice. But I'm not scared to get, push my sleeves up and climb up on a roof and get things done.
What's the second one?
Second one is you never know the last person's hand you shook, because you don't know who's the last person's hand that they shook. So you don't know after I get off this call with you, who I'm about to go meet. And I don't know who they met before that. So the networks run deep, and you and I always talk about how the universe works. People come into your life for a reason, and I'm a firm believer of that. But you always want to make sure you leave a good impression, because you never know where that's going to come full circle. And you don't know where those types of relationships will one day take you. I've been involved in certain things. It's taken me 10 years. And I just wrote my first bid for a builder that I've taken 10 years to even get a shot at bidding on his work. But you keep at it and you keep trying and you show yourself and prove yourself. Just always show up and always have a good attitude.
And don't give up.
Never give up.
Gina Farese, I have to say thank you. Again, I am just always so proud and impressed to speak to you. I'm grateful for you for coming on and sharing a little bit about what you do and how you see the next move constantly, and how you stay hungry and how you stay a great mom and you just make everybody proud. And I'm always proud. So thank you for joining us, and the power of connection.
Like you.
Thank you, my girl. Just goes to show how strong the power of connection is.
Sure.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.